Inshallah, we are beginning this program for tonight with the recitation of the Holy Quran, and I would like to request Brother Michael Gibbons to please come forth and recite the Quran with a rout salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajum.
الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وكأين من دابة لا تحمل رزقها الله يرزقها وإياكم وهو السميع العليم. ولئن سألتهم من خلق السماوات والأرض وسخر الشمس والقمر ليقولن الله فأنى يؤفكون. الله يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء من عباده ويقدر له إن الله بكل شيء عليم. ولئن سألتهم من نزل من السماء ماء فأحيا به الأرض من بعد موتها ليقولن الله قل الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعقلون. وما هذه الحياة الدنيا إلا لهو ولعب وإن الدار الآخرة لهي الحيوان لو كانوا يعلمون. فإذا ركبوا في الفلك دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين فلما نجاهم إلى البر إذا هم يشركون. ليكفروا بما آتيناهم وليتمتعوا فسوف يعلمون. أولم يروا أنا جعلنا حرما آمنا ويتخطف الناس من حولهم أفبالباطل يؤمنون وبنعمة الله يكفرون. ومن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا أو كذب بالحق لما جاءه أليس في جهنم مثوى للكافرين. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakallah, Brother Michael. I would now like to request Sister Naim Fatima to please recite some poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My pen cannot resist, although it weeps and shivers, for once desolate sands are now brimming with the flow of a crimson river. Fallen soldiers having met their fated destinies, a barren soil now, the flower bed of calamities, beheaded and injured bodies, butchered beyond recognition, each a love letter written, sealed with complete annihilation, outnumbered and surrounded, the enemy eager for their prize, while the camp of Hussain was charged with resolve and sacrifice. A nation against a small caravan, yet the hearts were at rest, each lion of God fighting bravely before embracing his noble death. The battle lines were drawn, a struggle for justice and truth, a saga of tragedy, which with martyrdom did conclude, leaving behind immense sorrow, hurt and anguish in its wake, every grain bearing witness to a mother's heartache. Cloaked in black, Fatima comes, pearls dripping from her eyes, the stillness of the night broken with her bitter cries. A sawzall of corpses she stands in between, reciting a eulogy, lamenting over the scene. My Lord, what is this I behold? To you I complain, this beloved and treasured son. What has happened to my Hussein? Is this really the same son for who I dearly loved and cared? His body isn't intact, his head is on a spare. Ya Allah, he was a gift, but look what they did to him. Across the burning plains of Karbala, scattered are his limbs, enchanted by gold and silver, fake promises of property, title and fame captivated by worldly pleasures and prosperity. He was encircled on all sides by these hungry and morbid hounds, his chest laden with arrows, more wounds than I could count, that even if I wished to patch them up, I wouldn't know where to start. Into 1,000 pieces broken is the special piece of my heart, dragged, looted, and trampled, his body left in the sun. My patience begins to cripple, but the journey has only begun. For indeed, this is common practice. In traditions, it is ordained. When a person dies, people gather to ease the family's pain. Bathing and shrouding, prayers recited for the deceased, laying him to rest in the ground, hoping for his salvation and peace. But look at my Hussein, how he is so lonely and oppressed. The coolness of my gaze, my rose in this way was left. Denied were the rights of the one who the essence of religion protected. Killed as a stranger, dehumanized and disrespected. No shelter from the elements, no tombstone or grave. No respite after war, no covering or shade. Tell me, is this the preparation? Are these the etiquettes? The responsibilities in this manner the army delegates. One to rob his possessions, the other to burn the tents. Some to run their horses, over the martyrs' bodies were sent. They celebrate their victory, beating drums and blowing horns. Tell me, is this the environment in which I have to mourn? Is this the meaning of empathy, of kindness and mercy? For even animals meant for food aren't slaughtered thirsty. They couldn't give him some water. They couldn't spare a few drops. Tell me, how shall I mend that place where Shimmer's dagger did its job? His body raised above the ground in the position of sujood. The battlefield, his mortuary, spears and arrows, his tribute. Ya Allah, my Hussein, how much they made him weep. Ya Allah, my Hussein, why won't they let him sleep? Ya Allah, are these beasts the same ones my father tried to refine? Who killed Ali Akbar and left my Hussein blind? Are these people the same Muslims who gave allegiance to Ali, but couldn't quench the thirst of a 6-month-old baby? Was it really those who knew the merits of Bani Hashim that have left us in ruin, murdering our companions and kin? For I am truly left in wonder, baffled at how much one man can take, when it was the body he didn't carry which caused his back to break. And his final farewell left me in a conundrum of strange sorts. Should I safeguard my Zainab, or Hussein should I support? I stood with her on the hill, watching the gruesome battle unfold. In one afternoon he had become so dispirited and old, and no one has ever departed from this world in such a state. Life drained from his physical being, yet propelled forward by his faith. Multiple times he fell, standing up once more. His throat was so dry, veins cracking under the pressure of the sword. And Ya Allah, tell me, is this not sufficient? So why must he witness the plight? Why must he watch the trials of his sisters, daughters, and wives, when it is the ladies of the home, when it is a household's women who are supposed to be the ornamentation of a person's coffin? People come to pay their respects, to comfort them in this difficult time. Not that they are captured and chained, enduring the enemy's crimes, but alas, look at how humiliated are my Zainab, Kulsum, Layla, and Rabab. They are paraded through the streets after stolen was their hijab. And every Hussein that will follow will face betrayal and torture, poisoning and imprisonment, but none like these horrors. From the 1st to the 11th, extinguished will be each lantern, the 12th door being closed due to the repetition of this pattern. But my Hussein's day is like nothing like what the others faced. And that is why my footsteps this sacred land will trace. This is both for me as his mother, and so I may console him. I leave my abode in paradise and stand here awaiting our Qa'im. For when the curtain of occultation is lifted, raised will be our banner. Vengeance will be taken for every moon that waned and shattered. And at last the turmoil in my chest, the uncontrollable earthquakes. The fire will be extinguished, the burning will be erased. The storm will pass replaced with sunshine and tranquil winds. The echoing of affliction replaced with gentle hymns. The images of the maqtal, all but a bad dream, realized will be the meaning of Ashura and Arba'in. Then she turns to me and says, dear poet, this is only a small portion, only a fraction, a segment of my misery and misfortune. Dear poet, this is the nature of the weight you carry with me, the love you spill upon paper in the form of poetry. And I feel as if I'm drowning, overcome by the waves of a raging ocean, my soul infused with scarred thoughts and unsaid emotions, by the pangs of suffering, by her grief deeply touched. And now my pen is humbled by a mother's pleas crushed. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Jazakallah, sister. That was beautiful. One more loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I would now like to request Brother Muhammad Hassan to please come forward and recite a salam with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma.
ور محمد و آل محمد صلوات. سنائی کس نے یہ زنداں میں لوری، سکینہ سو رہی ہے، خدا را زور سے بولے نہ کوئی، سکینہ سو رہی ہے، کہا بانوں نے یہ اٹھو شہزادی، ہوئی کیا بات جو مادر سے روٹھی، اٹھو بابا کا سر آیا ہے بی بی، اٹھو بابا کا سر آیا ہے بی بی، مگر زنداں کی ہے دیوار بولی، سکینہ سو رہی ہے، تمہارے گوشوارے مل گئے ہیں، در زندان سارے کھل گئے ہیں، رہائی مل گئی، جاتی ہوں گھر کو، رہائی مل گئی، جاتی ہوں گھر کو، مگر سجاد کی آواز آئی، سکینہ سو رہی ہے، نب مارے گا کوئی بھی تماچے، نہ ہوں گے پھر سے یہ رخسار نیلے، گلا باندھا نہ جائے گا رسن میں، گلا باندھا نہ جائے گا رسن میں، جو آیا شمر تو اس سے کہوں گی سکینہ سو رہی ہے، ردا چھوٹی سی ایک سر پر اڑھا دوں، چلو عباس سے ان کو ملا دوں، تمہاری مشق ہے اور ان کا سینہ، تمہاری مشق ہے اور ان کا سینہ، جو دیکھے آسماں کہتا ہے وہ بھی سکینہ سو رہی ہے، سنائی کس نے یہ زنداں میں لوری، سکینہ سو رہی ہے، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
Jazakallah, Brother Muhammad Hassan. One more loud salawat for the young brother. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected Shaykh, elders, brothers and sisters in faith, Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, we are honored to host Shaykh Bilal Hussain once again here at CFK. Jazakallah, Shaykh, for accepting our invitation and coming out here. It is always a pleasure to have you. And inshallah, we can't wait to learn new things when you're back up on the minbar again. One more loud salawat for the Shaykh, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Before I request the Shaykh to ascend the minbar, let us just recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors, the marhumin of Brother Asif, Sister Zinat Patel and family. And let us all include our own marhumin and the marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Let us all now request the Shaykh to please come to the minbar with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And please let us move forward so that the people that come in later can come in and sit.
رحم الله من يقرأ سورة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد، اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات على محمد وآل محمد صل على محمد. Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And your loudest salawat for ta'jeel faraj sahib al-asr wa zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Briefly, before we get into discussion, I'd like to discuss some points of fiqh that are important for us to know as a refresher, more so than to say as an introduction. To mention something fairly briefly, amongst the ahkam that we are responsible for is something called a Wajib Sajdah. In the Quran, there are 4 Wajib Sajdas, meaning there are 4 ayat of the Quran that when they are recited, it is mandatory for us to perform sujood. These ayat are located, first one is in Surah Sajdah, the 32nd surah of the Holy Quran. The second one is in the 41st surah, Surah Fussilat. The third one is Surah Al-Najm, the 53rd surah of the Holy Quran. And finally, Surah Al-Alaq, the 96th surah of the Holy Quran. These 4 surahs and the particular verse in them that require a wajib sajda are surahs that cannot be recited in salat. Now, the reason for why it can't be recited in salat differs amongst the fuqaha, but they all agree you can't. First, for example, Sayyid al-Khu'i simply says that you can't perform this action. This surah in salat, you can't recite it. Your salat is batil, the prayer is void. Sayyid Sistani says, no, technically you could recite it, but you wind up in a difficulty. How? As soon as the wajib sajda is recited, you have to go into sujood. Now, if I'm praying and I recite this surah, and the wajib sajda is recited, and I don't go into sujood immediately, I've committed a sin. But if I go into sajda immediately, I've broken my prayers. So it winds up being a conundrum. So Sayyid Sistani says, therefore you can't recite it because either 1, you're going to commit a sin, or 2, you're going to break your prayers, therefore you can't recite it. So these 4 surahs we say we can't recite in prayer because you have to recite an entire surah in your salat. And if you can't recite an entire surah, your salat is invalid as well. And this surah having a wajib sajda. Now, how do we perform the wajib sajda? As I mentioned, when the verse of wajib sajda in the surah is recited, you immediately have to go into sajda. Now, this sajda does not have the same conditions as sajda in salat. Let me explain. 1, to perform the sajda, I don't have to be facing qibla. 2, I don't have to be in a state of wudu. 3, there is nothing that has to be recited in this sajda. The physical action is sufficient to complete my responsibility. There is one similarity between sajda in salat and sajda to wajib that comes in the Quran, and that similarity is that it has to be done, sajda must be done on something that is correct to perform sajda upon. So meaning that the same way I can't pray on a carpet, I can't do a wajib sajda on a carpet. I need to have a turba. But I don't have to pay attention to qibla, I don't have to do anything. The only thing I have to do is as soon as I recite that verse, go down into sajda. And there are 4 of these. Now there are many mustahab sajdas in the Quran. Mustahab, it's recommended. But there are 4 that have to be done in wajib, and if I don't perform this action, it's a sin. And the qadha remains upon me. Meaning that, for example, now I didn't realize that there are 4 wajib sajdas, and I realize now that I've recited the Quran many times. Or for example, sometimes there is a Quran teacher who is teaching someone the recitation of the Quran, and in that process they are teaching the child, and the child is reciting this wajib sajda. Now the child not being baligh, no problem, doesn't perform the sajda, performs the sajda, not a problem. But me as the teacher, that the child recited this wajib sajda, I have to perform this sajda. And if I haven't done it in the past, now I have to do the qadha for it. How do we do the qadha? Shaykh, I don't know how many times I did this, I don't know how many times I've gone through this. Well, okay, no problem. What's the minimum? I don't know, maybe 50 times? What's the maximum? Maybe 100 times? All you have to do is perform the minimum, not the maximum. Why? Because in the minimum, I'm certain that it was this many whether it was more or not, this amount I definitely hit. That's all. We have to perform that which we have yaqeen upon, not that which we have shak upon. So I have a doubt. It could be 50 to 65 times, maybe it was 100 times or 120 times. Whatever my minimum is, that's what I have to perform because that's what I have yaqeen. So I have to perform the qada. So same thing, the same way we have qada for other wajibat, this is something that if I didn't perform a wajib sajda, I have a qada to perform, I perform the qada. Now finally, you guys are okay? One more point. I'm listening to the Quran in my car. See where I'm going with this? I'm listening to Quran in my car. Guy recites a wajib sajda. What do? Break the car, jump out of the car, perform sajda? Now hang on. It is wajib upon me to perform this sajda if A, I recited the verse, 2, I was sitting with someone and they recited the verse, or 3, I'm listening to someone who's reciting the verse live. If it happens to be a recording, if it happens to be something that's pre-recorded, an MP3 or an audio or YouTube, and someone recites a wajib sajda, the fact that it's not live, I do not have the obligation to perform that wajib sajda. So if it's live, if I listen to someone who recites it, or I recite it myself, then I have to perform this wajib sajda. You guys want to hear a story? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad. Allama Hilli, they describe and say that he became a mujtahid at the age of 9. He was very intelligent and he was from a family of ijtihad. That he was from a family of scholarship, of knowing Islam and doing istinbat and research of Islam. They describe and they say that Allama Hilli, when he was immature and he was a child, he was playing with his uncle and his uncle was chasing him. Every time his uncle would almost catch him, Allama Hilli would recite a wajib sajda. And the uncle would have to go into sajda immediately and Allama Hilli would run and get away. He performed this 3 or 4 times until eventually the uncle caught on and catched him before he recited another wajib sajda that had to be performed. And this way, for a child, if they're not baligh, they can recite it. Be careful, I'm not trying to teach your children something bad. I'm trying to teach them something good. If they recite verses of Quran, it'll be good for all of us. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa. On to our discussion for the night. This verse that we began our discussion with, in Surah Tawbah, verse number 33, this verse actually comes in the Quran about 3 times, where Allah says, هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولُهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Allah says that He is the one who sent down His messenger with the guidance and the upright religion to overcome all other religions. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Even if the disbelievers, even if the mushrikeen should dislike this. This verse is not something that, for example, just we pay attention to, but as a matter of fact, it is one of the verses and even the enemies of Islam pay attention to, because they believe it presents a doctrine of the philosophy of Islam. That Islam's intention is to overcome all other religions. And Islam is making an effort to become the one that controls everything. And this verse is quite often used for this. Now, if you take a look at it, what do they believe? They come to the conclusion, they say that if the Quran is saying this, that means that every Muslim's goal is to go out and to try and force the rest of this world to follow this religion. And the belief is, and the fear is that it's going to be done by force. That Muslims would come and they are militant, na'uzubillah, against us. We say that this isn't true. Why? Because if the one who brought the message spread the message with peace, then how could we imagine that we will grow the religion through the process of force? Rasulullah's spreading of the religion of Islam in this world was through peace, was through kindness, was through goodness, was through equity amongst society and welcoming people to the religion of Islam. Therefore, if Allah is promising that this religion will overcome لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, that it will overcome every religion in this world, how could it be by any other way except that the way that the Prophet initially spread the religion of Islam? So the argument to say that this proves that na'uzubillah Islam is militant, no. Our Prophet was not militant. Allah did not want us to be militant, and nor will this religion become the establishment on this earth through a militant process. Otherwise, what was the purpose of the Prophet's efforts? Now, some of our brothers from other faiths as well, when they read this verse, they say, yeah, you're right. We have to overcome all of the religions in this world. So you ask them, how? And some of them have the opinion that, well, overpopulation, I guess. It's an actual legitimate fear that people have, that Muslims' entire goal is to take over the world through the process of overpopulation. They're going to have so many children, and they're just going to become the people in the world, and everybody else is going to die off. Every so often you'll see right-wing people quoting population figures and population growth figures and comparing and saying, oh my God, but those Muslims, they keep increasing. Why? Because they, na'uzubillah, believe that that's the way that Islam is going to take over the world. But let me tell you something. They may be Muslim in name, but if their actions aren't from Islam, then what world are they taking over? Meaning it doesn't make sense that this process that, for example, Islam should be the dominant religion or should be the one لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ, that it overcomes, becomes apparent in society over all of the religion. It can't be a numbers game because numbers doesn't represent faith. Ideology, character represents faith. Islam is not just a head count of people, because then if that was the case, the religion would have begun with many people. Allah began this religion with one man in the middle of the darkness of Arabia. Allah didn't care that there would be 1 billion Muslims in the world. He cared that there was this one Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So therefore we say that even this as an argument to say that, oh, it's the process of population increase, that the Muslims will have more. No, Baba, they may be Muslim in name, but what's the point if their hearts aren't following Islam? Just by having children doesn't mean that all of a sudden Islam is the dominant religion. If they don't live by the rules of Islam, then how did Islam become the dominant religion? Therefore we say even this is inaccurate. When you come to Madhab Ja'fari and you look at this ayah of the Quran, and the question comes that how then is humanity going to be overcome by the religion of Allah? And let me tell you, there's more interesting points in this verse. But our focal point is on this, that how is this going to happen that Islam will become the religion of the world? We say that Allah has left in this earth such a scion of the Prophet, such a proof of the Prophet, that when he becomes apparent to humanity, that humanity itself will want to submit and to join and to become a part of the guidance and the teaching of Sahibul Asr wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. So meaning that Madhab Ja'fari says that the same way that the Prophet came and established this religion, that it will be his grandson, the Imam, who will come and establish and reintroduce the people to this religion. And the beauty of the way that he will do it is that humanity as a whole will be interested in following this religion and will naturally come to the path of Islam and want to live the values of Islam. Now, having this as an ideology, one of the questions that we have sometimes is then, how do I know who is this Imam? Now, how do I know when he's going to come? And how do I know all the things that I want to know about him? Now this is where it gets interesting, that some of the things that we want to know about him and some of the things that we need to know about him. Sometimes we talk about the idea that my Imam is coming, but we haven't really thought about him. Say, I want my Imam, but I don't know my Imam. Shall I give you an example? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So I make sure you don't fall asleep, right? We stay together. If I have to talk, you have to listen. Let me ask you something. The long life of the Imam, is it natural or is it a miracle? Let me explain why this is an interesting question. The idea that it could be natural, that an Imam could live for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, let's pray inshallah it's not 2,000 years, let's pray inshallah he comes tomorrow. It could happen. Nuh alayhi salam in the Quran preached to his people for 950 years and lived for almost 3,000 years. It's possible somebody could live for that long. It's possible. They say that Salman Farsi at the time that he met the Prophet was almost 200 years old. And that he lived beyond that. Khizr alayhi salam is still alive in the earth today. It's possible. But the reason that we say that it may not be the case with Imam Zaman is that though somebody may live for a very long time, they still age. They still get older. They still go through the cycles of life, though it may be more gradual. But the description of our 12th Imam is that when he comes, he will come as a very young man. He will come as a young man. So the question comes that how can he come as a young man if his aging is natural and he's been alive for 1200 years and Allah says you can live for a very long time but you'll age through this process. So maybe he isn't naturally in this phase of where his age is increasing and it's a natural process. Maybe it's a miracle. Allah has the right to commit a miracle to keep an imam young. There's no problem with it. But now here comes the problem with that. If his long age is a miracle, why is he hidden from us? Why couldn't he live amongst us then? If he's alive and Allah is going to protect him and keep him alive and keep him young, why then did he have to go into occultation? Why did he have to go into hiding? And this is where we find that when we take these concepts and without researching, without learning, without thinking about, without spending time, when we say, I want to know my Imam, have I really thought about these issues? Have I looked at them in their entirety to see? And what's the resolution to this problem? If it's natural, then it makes sense that he needs to hide, he needs to be in occultation, he needs to be hidden from the people such that his life is preserved. If it's a miracle, then why does he need to be in occultation? If he's natural, then okay, then why isn't he aging? Because that's the natural process of life. When we look at these concepts and think about them, we start to realize how little do I really know about my Imam? Did I really think about him? Have I really spent time and thought about this? Have I focused on my Imam? And let me tell you something, it's not something you can do without studying and learning. This isn't an issue that can be resolved simply by my intellect, that I can think about this and I'll get the solution in my mind. No. To know the Imam is to research, to study, to invest the time in Quran and Hadith, to invest the time in his purpose and ideology, to invest the time in understanding how the A'immah explain to us who is this Imam and why is he in the phases that he is and what is the purpose of this. When we research this subject, you guys want to know the answer? I'll tell you the answer with a loud salawat. When we research this subject, we find that these two are not related. The long life of the Imam is for one purpose. The occultation of the Imam is for another purpose. These two subjects have no affiliation between them in the sense to say that one causes the other or the other causes the first. The purpose of the long life of the Imam is that when the dhuhur of the Imam comes and he presents amongst the people, he will present the history of every nation, every person, as if he was one of their nation. That he has lived through every time and difficulty as a member of that society, such that people will come and claim that he is from us. He knows our history. He is one who has been present in our history. He knows our affairs as one who has gone through life with us. And this will draw the appeal to the Imam. That the Imam will not be someone that people will say, why should we give him authority over us? He knows nothing about us. He has not been through our history. He does not know our culture. He does not know our affairs. No, the Imam will tell every nation their history as if he was present at that time, because the life of the Imam was such that he was present at every time in every nation. This was the purpose, so that people, anywhere in the world the Imam goes and expresses his authority over them, he's not a stranger to them. He's one of them. He is aware of every affair of every time and every nation, such that every nation will call he is one of us. We are from him and he is from us. There is no difference between us and him. Whatever we have gone through, he has gone through with us. The draw of the people to love the Imam will be by their shared history and love of what the Imam represents. This is from the aspect of talking about his age. لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. That the leader will be such that every nation will claim that he is the best of us and best of humanity. And there is no one who deserves to have authority over us better than him. When we talk about the idea of discussing the occultation of the Imam, even this concept is not foreign to the history of both the world and how society today operates. Allah sent all of these Anbiya to perfect a religion. Now that the religion was perfected and given to humanity, and humanity was given all of the guidance that they needed, Allah said, now comes the time for a test. In the same way that in a classroom, when we take a test, the teacher does not answer our questions at the time during the test. So in this time, does the teacher, though he may be present, not answer our questions directly as we go through the test? You see, the idea of an occultation is not something new that's only happened now. No, throughout history, the Anbiya have had occultation from their communities to see, did they really follow the message, or were they just simply offering lip service when their leader, the Imam, the Prophet, was in front of them? Look at the story of Nabi Musa alayhi salam. Nabi Musa said to his people, I am going to go for 30 days. 30 days, and I'll be back. Allah says, I gave him 30 days and I added 10 more. This 10 was the occultation. The occultation of Musa, what happened? The Bani Israel said, oh, Musa didn't come back. Everything he told us is a lie. Go make us a golden calf. And they started the process of idol worship. Look at how they failed the test. And Allah said, now I take away the teacher. Everything that he taught you, did you really believe in it, or did you just offer lip service to it? The same is true that now that the message has been perfected in humanity, now that the message of Allah is present in its most absolute, intellectually sound, perfect form, does humanity believe in the message? Or are they simply overcome by the awe and the presence of the Imam, and therefore they do what the Imam says? Our Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Once when he was sitting with a few people, he says, I wish that I could see my brothers. The people present said, aren't we your brothers, Ya Rasulullah? I said, no, you're my contemporaries, you're not my brothers. So I said, Ya Rasulullah, then who qualifies as your brother? We have been with you through battles, supposedly. You know, they were kind of there sometimes and then they ran away. But long story. Who are your brothers then, Ya Rasulullah? Rasulullah replies, he says, my brothers will be those who will believe in this faith when they have nothing to guide them except for black on white. That those who will come and believe in the religion of Islam when the only source of guidance, when the absence of the Prophet, when the absence of the Imam, they have yaqeen and certainty in this religion when all they have is books and writing in front of them to guide them to the true path of Islam. Rasulullah says, that's one will be my brother. Meaning that this phase of this test that we're going through, though it's very difficult, how do I believe in a religion when I can't see the guide, when I can't see the hadi, when I can't see the Imam, when I can't see the representative of Allah on this earth? It's very difficult. But the reward in the eyes of Allah is great as well. The occultation of the Imam is the period of this test to say that if you have Islam, do you believe in Islam or do you believe in the Imam? Same thing, even in the time of the Prophet. Sometimes their history tries to give us a beautiful picture of history and say that yes, the personality of the Prophet was such that if you ever saw him, you were immediately rightly guided. That all of the companions, anyone who ever met the Prophet is known as a Sahabi, is known as a companion. And then the famous hadith, and it's false, that all my companions are like stars, follow any one of them and you'll be rightly guided. This isn't history. Why? Because if this was history, why did Allah then need to reveal a surah like Surah Munafiqun? The hypocrites, those who profess to have faith, but in reality they didn't possess anything of faith. This idea that, for example, if we could see the Imam, we would love him and believe him and become the best Muslims. Baba, it didn't happen for Rasulullah. What makes you think it's going to happen now? It didn't happen for the Ahlul Bayt. What makes you think it's going to happen now? First off, the idea. Everybody's okay? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I could be a good Muslim if I could see the Imam. If I'm a good Muslim, then I must see the Imam. This is one of the things that we believe. That my faith is reflected my ability to see the Imam. No, not at all. It's a very selfish thought process. Do you know why? I'm thinking about what I need from the Imam. I'm not thinking about what the Imam needs from me. I'm thinking about what I want the Imam to do for me. I want the Imam to reveal himself to me. I'm good enough. I'm not thinking about what does the Imam want from me. Does the Imam need to see me? What does the Imam need me to do? This is a really dangerous thought process that we say that if I become a better Muslim, I must see the Imam. Are you going to tell the Imam what to do? Are you the one who's going to force the Imam to do this? Or is it that you are at his service and what he wants from you is what you're going to do? The Imam in this period of occultation, it's not the one-on-one that he wants from us. He wants us to be the true followers of this religion so that his reappearance hastens and comes sooner. It's not that I need to see him. And it doesn't mean that by seeing him I would become a better person. As a matter of fact, there are many people in history, though they could see the Imam, didn't learn, didn't see this process. I have two stories I think we can tell. You guys ready? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa. One comes in the time of our sixth Imam. That in the time of our sixth Imam, remember, the Khilafat of the Banu Umayyah was crumbling. It was falling apart. And the Khilafat of the Banu Abbas was about to begin. And the political world and the Islamic world was in turmoil. One follower of our sixth Imam, Abu Muhammad al-Khurasani. Abu Muhammad, I'm pretty sure, Khurasani. Comes to our sixth Imam as our Imam is teaching. And our Imam used to teach classes to over 14,000 students. Used to teach constantly. So Abu Muhammad comes and he says, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, it's the time to rise. This isn't the time to stay quiet and teach classes. This is the time to rise. I have over 100,000 warriors ready to fight for you. 100,000 warriors. And they will do as you command, when you command, where you command. Let's go. Why let the Banu Abbas? Why let someone else take it? We'll take it. We'll put authority back in the house of Sayyidah Zahra. Imam Sadiq says, okay, Abu Muhammad, do you see this? It's a tannoor. A tannoor is an oven in which you break bread. It's really hot, like really hot. Not like a normal fire you keep in your house, it's extra hot. So Abu Muhammad, jump in. Abu Muhammad says, but you've noticed like you need me. I'm going to give you 100,000 soldiers. I'm more valuable to you alive than dead. Imam Sadiq says, okay, no problem. As this goes on, a companion of our sixth Imam by the name of Abu Harun walks into the room. He walks into the room, says, Salaamu Alaikum, Ya Ibn Rasulullah. Imam Sadiq says, Abu Harun in the fire. Abu Harun says, Sami'na wa ata'na. We listen and we follow your command, and jumps into the fire. Abu Muhammad is like, huh? He's like, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, you wasted his life. You let him die just like this? Then Imam Sadiq says, Abu Harun, come out. Abu Harun walks out of the tannoor, brushes himself off and sits down. Imam Sadiq says, Abu Muhammad, how many soldiers like this do you have for me? Abu Muhammad says, Wala wahid. We don't have one like this. Listening to the Imam isn't going to come from seeing him. Listening to the Imam is going to come by knowing him educating yourself about him, paying attention and learning the authority he has over us, paying attention to what are his rights and what are my responsibilities to him. Often we think about, I need to see the Imam. Before the Imam has a responsibility to fulfill my desire of seeing him, am I truly in the service of the Imam? Or am I just making it a relationship of convenience? That if I get what I want, then I'll listen to you, but if you don't come and I don't see you, then how do I know you're real? Who's the leader here? The second story. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I think we have enough time. It's about a person by the name of Abu Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi. Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi. Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi was a companion of Imam Ali and was someone who followed Imam Ali into the Battle of Siffin. Now his story is a little bit longer. I'm going to give you a piece of his biography to understand the context, and then we'll bring the point to the conclusion. Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi was a companion of Imam Ali, went to the Battle of Siffin. The Battle of Siffin was a battle that lasted for months. And Muawiyah would continue to offer bribes to buy off the soldiers of Imam Ali throughout this battle. Ubaidullah one night after the fighting had been very long decided, you know what, I'm tired of fighting for Imam Ali. He says, I just want to have the money, I want to have ease, I want to have comfort. So in the middle of the night when everybody was sleeping, he deserted the army of Imam Ali and went to the side of Muawiyah. Now, there were so many people who died in the Battle of Siffin. The Battle of Siffin was one of the bloodiest battles in the history of Islam. That next morning, people woke up and nobody remembered, did we actually see him? Did he die? What happened? Nobody quite remembered what happened to Ubaidullah ibn Hur. The Battle of Siffin even had breaks in it when the people returned back to Kufa. So when these soldiers went back to Kufa, when there was a break, when fighting was forbidden and they went back to the city of Kufa, they went back and the wife of Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi came to the other soldiers and said, where's my husband? They said, Wallah, ma adri ba'd. He died, we don't know. We didn't see his body, we don't know what happened to him, we just believe he's dead. This woman says, okay, my husband's dead. She goes out and she gets married again. Sometime after the Battle of Siffin finished, Ubaidullah decided to come back to Kufa. So that's where his home was, that's where his family was. So in the middle of the night, he comes back into the city, goes to his house, opens his door, no wife. So he goes to his neighbor's door, knocks on it. Neighbor's astounded, you were dead. He says, I'm alive, where's my wife? Like, she got married. What do you mean she got married? She's married to me. He said, no, she got married. He says, where is she? On the other side of town. Ubaidullah ibn Hur goes to the other side of town, goes to the house, knocks on the door, woman opens the door, and she feels like she's seen a ghost. She says, you're dead. He says, I'm alive. She says, but they told me you're dead. He says, I'm alive. He says, come home. She says, what home? I'm married now. I'm done with you. He says, no, you're my wife. She says, no, they told me you were dead. I got married again. This is my husband now. This is the house I live in. You're not my husband. So they begin this argument until they decide that tomorrow morning we're going to go ask to decide between us, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad. So the next morning, Ubaidullah ibn Hur and his wife go in front of Imam Ali and they explain the situation. First, Imam Ali begins by telling him, Ubaidullah, you did khiyana, you did treachery. You shouldn't have done that. It was a bad thing to do. Why would you do such a thing? Ubaidullah makes one statement. He says, will my mistake prevent you from giving me justice, Ali ibn Abi Talib? Imam Ali says, no. So Ubaidullah says that I'm asking you for your justice. And Imam Ali says that she is still your wife. That second marriage was invalid. Go home with Ubaidullah. And Ubaidullah takes his wife and he goes home. Fast forward now. The news spreads in Kufa that Imam Hussain is coming and Yazid is sending an army. Ubaidullah says, not again. I've been between these two sides and I don't want to be amongst them. So Ubaidullah says he took his belongings, took a tent and left the city of Kufa. He says, I'm going to go out to the desert and I'm going to stay in the desert. When this entire situation finishes, then I'll come back to my house. So he goes out to the desert, plants his tent. Guess where he puts his tent? In Karbala. When Imam Hussain comes to the field of Karbala, he asks the people, whose tent is this? They say it's Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi. Imam Hussain goes to see Ubaidullah. Ubaidullah narrates, when Abu Abdullah entered my tent, he entered with over 10 children following him as he entered my tent. Meaning that the children used to love Imam Hussain so much they followed him wherever he went. And it wasn't one or two children, it was so many that a narrator remembers that when Imam Hussain came to visit me, all of these children followed him here. Imam Hussain sits in the tent of Ubaidullah and he says, Ubaidullah, you did khiyana before, you did treachery before, don't do it now. I am the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, I am asking you for your assistance, come and support me. Ubaidullah says, listen, I left the city of Kufa because I didn't want to get into this fight. No, I still don't want to get into this fight. So how about this, Abu Abdullah, I'll make you an offer. My horse is the fastest horse in Arabia. You take my horse and you leave here as fast as you can, as far as you can. I promise I will take the responsibility of your family and your women and I will return them all to the city of Medina. Imam Hussain bows his head for a moment and he says, this is not what I wanted from you. If you don't want to support us, then leave this land. Because if you hear me call for assistance on the day of Ashura and you don't answer me, you will be certainly condemned to the fires of hell. So Ubaidullah takes his tent and he leaves Karbala. After the waqia of Karbala, the first one to come and recite poetry on the grave of Imam Hussain, the first one to express grief and plant a spear on the grave of the Imam that vengeance should be sought for this madloom who was killed, is Ubaidullah ibn Hur al-Jawfi. My point to say is you can see the Imam all you want, but it doesn't mean that you have ma'rifat of who is your Imam. So Ubaidullah twice, he had the opportunity to support the Imam, the Ahlul Bayt, and they came to him and they invited him. And twice he refused them. Simply seeing the Imam is not going to do you any good. Now is the time that if I believe in this Imam, I need to learn about what his authority over me is. Who is he to me? What is my responsibility to him? How do I ensure that if my Imam was here today, he would be happy with me? Not would I be happy with my Imam that he came when I called him? To understand this, it's very important to think about this idea. Let's say the Imam calls the day of Friday is the day that we wait. The day of Friday is the day of intidhar. The day of Friday is the day that we wait, that this Friday, inshallah, is the day that we hear the call of the Imam. Let's say that this is the Friday we hear the call of the Imam, inshallah. Let's try this again. Let's say this is the Friday we hear the call of the Imam. It's pretty good. I was looking for an inshallah, but I'll take it. What am I going to say? I have a mortgage to pay. I have little kids at home. I'm almost done with my school loans. Or let me finish school. The Imam needs an engineer more than he needs me the way I am today. Or are we going to know that when the Imam calls to us, there is nothing more important than answering that call? It doesn't matter what I have pending, what my responsibilities are, what my loans are. My desire is secondary. My Imam's call is primary. I'm doing whatever I want until the Imam calls, then nothing takes priority over that call. It's a difficult lesson to learn, and it's not one you're going to learn by accident. It's one you have to understand. What is my relationship? Who is this Imam? What am I doing? How am I doing intidhar? How am I waiting for this Imam? Am I prepared? That if this call comes, that the first and foremost important thing in my life is answering this Imam? The example of that was Habib ibn Madahir. Habib was one of the oldest friends of Imam Hussain. He's the one that the Imam wrote a letter to invite Habib. Habib was honored by Imam Hussain, both that Imam Hussain called to him for him to come. And today when you go to Karbala and you see the grave of Imam Hussain, you know that there is a child that is buried on his chest, and there is his son buried, Asghar, Akbar, buried at his feet. And then you see the maqam of the Shahada, where all of the Shahada are buried. And then separately you see the grave of Habib. Because Habib was the commander of the companions. And his grave was made separate, so that today, even when you go to the commander of the companions and you ask, oh, Habib said, Jilni, write me amongst the supporters of Imam Hussain. Add me to his army. Imam Hussain honored this Habib. When that letter reached the house of Habib, in the time of the evening, he went and he took the letter, read it, and came back. Habib's wife asked him, Habib, who is it? What is it? He says, I have received a letter from my master, my old friend, Abu Abdullah. She says, what is it? My Imam is in a state of difficulty. He is alone in the battlefield and he has called for me. And what do you intend to do? Well, if I leave, what will happen to you? What will happen to our son Qasim? How will you take care of things? The wife of Habib says simply that, Habib, if these are your concerns, then you stay here, I'm going to Karbala then. I will go to support my Imam. If this is your concern, my concern is the son of Zahra. Habib says, this is all I wanted to know to ensure that my lineage will love the Ahlul Bayt the way I love the Ahlul Bayt. The Shahadat of Habib, the sacrifice of Habib, is something that we don't have the time to cover, but remember that if Abu Abdullah wanted to honor this Habib, then the army of Umar Asad wanted to disrespect this Habib. After the shahadat of the Shuhada, when they began to parade the heads, they said every head was raised on a spear except for maybe two. One, they said, was the head of that one who was the protector of the hijab, that some said could not be raised on a spear because it was something that he could not bear to see. The other was the head of this Habib, that they said if Habib was the commander of the soldiers of Imam Hussain, then this commander we will show disrespect. They took the head of Habib and they hung it from the neck of a horse, so that as the horse would walk, it would kick the head of Habib as a sign of disrespect. They say that when the Shuhada entered into Kufa, the rider who had the head of Habib hanging from his horse's neck said, I would see a child who would come and look at the eyes of this head hanging from my horse. I said to the child, what is it that you want? Upon my asking, the child ran away. Again, this child came and I asked him again, why do you look at this head? What do you want? Again, the child ran away. The third time before I asked him, I grabbed the child and I said, what is your business with this head that you keep to come and look at it? All the others look at the beauty of the son of Zahra on a spear, but you look at this head. They look at the head of Asghar on a spear. They look at the head of the one who looked more like Rasulullah than anyone else. But you look at this head, child. He says, I am Qasim ibn Habib. This is the head of my father. I want to ask you to return the head of my father that I may go and bury it. The writer says that I have an interest to receive a reward from the Khalifa, therefore I can't return it. Run away, O child. I would imagine Habib has to say, O Qasim, don't ask about my head when the head of your Imam is on a spear. How can Habib be buried when Hussein is still raised on a spear? Don't come to me, Qasim. Go to Zahra that you should give her condolences for her, Hussein. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون يا محمود بحق محمد يا أعلى بحق علي يا فاطر السماوات بحق فاطمة يا محسن بحق الحسن يا قديم الأحسان بحق الحسين. Oh Allah, accept this small ibadat from us. Ya Allah, give the thawab of this majlis to the marhameen of the sponsor of this majlis, the marhameen of all those who are present and all those who are in need of dua. Ya Allah, we have gathered here with hajat. By the right of the mention of Ahlul Bayt, fulfill our hajat. Ya Allah, those amongst our families and our communities who are suffering through sickness and disease, Ya Allah, give shafa'at to the mu'mineen wherever they are. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of Sahibuz Zaman. Make us and our families from the upright supporters of Sahibuz Zaman and entitle us to Shafa of Abu Abdullah in dunya and akhirah. Matam Hussain.
Ya Hussain, 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 Ya Hussain. Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, paband na ho aahe, hai paband na ho aahe, rone pe na pehra ho, Ya Rab koi masooma zinda mein na tanha ho, ho Ya Rab masooma थी जिसको नींद आती शबीर के सीने पर, थी जिसको नींद आती शबीर के सीने पर, जिंदा दरे जिंदा है जिंदा दरे जिंदा उसके लिए क़ज़ा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सिसकने की, जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सिसकने की, जैसे के सकीना को है, जैसे के सकीना को हर जिंदान रो रहा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, पाबंद ना हो आहें है पाबंद ना हो आहें, रोने पे न पहरा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो, या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन बर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलवात.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا هجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأعمال حي على خير الأعمال قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله ربي من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه يا محسن وقد أتاك المصيب الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وتور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل السافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربنا الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم لا إله إلا الله العلي العظيم سبحان الله رب ورب الأرضين السبع وما فيهن ما بينهن ورب العرش العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم إنا نسألك راحة عند الموت والمغفرة بعد الموت والعفو عند الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة ورضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وعليه السلام اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Muhammadin, just a few announcements and reminders. Here at CFK, we strive to provide the best services to the community while trying to be very responsible with our sponsor funds. One way we do that is by asking all of our guests to pre-register. This lets us know that you will be attending the program and therefore helps us arrange adequate tabarruk. The idea is that there should be enough for everyone while ensuring that there is no wastage at the same time. Please consider registering via the link present on all our WhatsApp and email announcements. Also, we do require your help to maintain our tradition of no active fundraising. Therefore, please consider sponsoring, becoming sustaining members with recurring monthly contributions. For opportunities to donate and ways to donate, look for the QR codes that have been posted on the walls. And inshallah, all of this information is also present on all of our WhatsApp communication and on our webpage, cfkdfw.org. A reminder for next weekend's program, here Friday and Saturday, September 9th and 10th, we will be commemorating the martyrdom of Lady Sakina bint Hussain alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. These programs will be, Shaykh Amin Rastani will be speaking at these programs, inshallah. These programs will begin at 6:30 p.m. with the recitation of the Holy Quran and will conclude with Matandari, Salatul Maghribain and Niyaz. We also have a private Shabadari program next weekend arranged by Anjuman Sher Khuda here at CFK. That program is scheduled to begin at 9 p.m. inshallah. As always, event details are posted on our WhatsApp group. Once again, please visit our webpage, cfkdfw.org, where you can sign up for our newsletters, find the QR code to join our WhatsApp groups, and donate and sponsor nights of Aza and other programs here at CFK. Let us all recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors, marhumin of Brother Asif, Sister Zinat Patel, and family. Let us all include all our marhumin and the marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Another quick announcement: the Arba'in Julus is being held tomorrow after Namaz Dhuhrain in downtown Dallas. For details, please visit. Do we have any? Just in downtown Dallas after Dhuhrain, inshallah. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأعمال حي على خير الأعمال قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله ربي من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه محسن وقد أتاك المصيب الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربنا الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم في كل خير فيه وآل وأخرجنا من كل سوء أخرجت منه محمد وآل محمد وصل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله استغفر الله وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا جليل ارحم عبدك الذليل اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر